Bart Ehrman destroyed Christian Apologist GodLogic on the resurrection of Jesus. Recently, GodLogic had a debate with Muslim apologist Dean Response. In that debate, he claimed Bart Ehrman thinks all the disciples of Jesus believe in resurrection. However, is this claim true? In this video, I investigated this claim and what I found could destroy all of Christianity. But what could destroy all of Christianity? If you want to know, then please watch this video until the very end. So let's get started.
You're saying non-Christian scholars do not agree that the apostles believed that they saw a resurrected Christ?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, what does Bart Ehrman say on this issue?
He would be saying that early Christians did believe in the resurrection, but it wouldn't be the apostles. He would be saying it would possibly be Paul believing in this, as well as the writers of the gospel.
He says the disciples of Jesus believed that they saw a resurrected Christ. This is one of the facts that they all agree on.
And some of the earlier disciples did too. That's why they believed in the resurrection. They believed because they saw Jesus. And I think some of them absolutely saw. I doubt if all 11 did, but my guess is that a couple of them did.
He posted a clip, and in that clip itself, Bart Ehrman says that maybe not all of them believe, but some of them.
And some of the earlier disciples did too. That's why they believed in the resurrection. I doubt if all 11 did, but my guess is that a couple of them did. Maybe Peter, maybe Mary Magdalene.
So Bart Ehrman doesn't believe that all the disciples believe that
resurrection happened.
He literally says that in his own clip.
He says the disciples of Jesus believed that they saw a resurrected Christ.
I doubt if all 11 did.
He says the disciples of Jesus believed that they saw a resurrected Christ.
So how stupid can you be to not realize that your own clip debunks you? So basically here, he's committing a logical fallacy known as quoting out of context. So here he clearly quotes Bart Ehrman out of context. No, Bart Ehrman does not believe the Bible is historically reliable enough that it can give us historical information about what the disciples actually believed.
The Gospels are our sources for knowing about the resurrection of Jesus. Are they the kind of sources that historians would want when trying to establish what probably happened in the past? I think the answer to that question is no.
And then this clown is claiming that supposedly Bart Ehrman believes the disciples believed in crucifixion. Which, by the way, is a lie, because there is a blog post by Bart Ehrman addressing this very point, where he clearly says, we don't know what the disciples believed. And there's actually reason to believe that some of them actually didn't believe that Jesus was crucified. So then how can you claim this? Like, do you think people are stupid and they're not going to look this up?
So who's a reputable historian? Give me a reputable historian who says that the disciples did not think that they saw a risen Christ.
Yeah, Bart Ehrman.
They believed because they saw Jesus.
Can you bring it up, please? You're trying to say now that there are secular scholars that say the secular reputable historians, New Testament historians, who say that the disciples did not think that Jesus rose. Who says that? You said Bart Ehrman says. I need it.
People are retarded.
Obviously, Bart Ehrman is an atheist. He doesn't believe the Bible to be historically accurate.
Did all of Jesus' disciples believe in the resurrection? Some of the disciples never were fully convinced, and that they, possibly a few of them, never did come to believe.
Now, some may ask the question, well, then why is he saying his disciples, they saw Jesus? Atheists and secular academics, they're basically trying to analyze this the same way a historian would analyze a mythology or mythological story to try to describe what might have happened in reality. This doesn't mean that Bart Ehrman in any way, shape, or form believes that the Bible is historically reliable. He's not saying that this is somehow historically reliable information. He doesn't believe that.
He says that they believed in the resurrection through other testimonies, but there's no evidence that the disciples themselves saw him rise.
That's not what he says there. Can you put the link in here so we can all look at it? This is from Bart Ehrman's blog, right? The most important result of the disciples' belief that God had raised Jesus from the dead was that it radically changed their understanding of what it meant to say Jesus was the Messiah.
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
Without realizing, he actually quotes an argument by Bart Ehrman that completely destroys the crucifixion narrative and Christianity as a whole. The crucifixion claim actually destroys the claim of Jesus being the Messiah.
What?
The idea is that the Messiah obviously is someone who will be the king of Jews, who will rule the earth and make a a kingdom of heaven, or this kind of like glorifying kingdom, which will last forever, right? That's the prophecy. Obviously, that didn't happen because Jesus died, right? So this becomes a false prophecy if Jesus actually died, right? This creates a contradiction. If Jesus died, then he cannot be the Messiah. Jesus died, therefore he cannot be the Messiah. This is a completely logical argument, and this is true. So basically, the core tenet of Christianity completely contradicts itself. At one hand, Christians are claiming that Jesus was the Messiah, but then on the other hand, they're also claiming he also died. That doesn't make any sense, because the Messiah is not supposed to be dead. He's supposed to rule on earth and establish a kingdom for an eternity. The only way you can get out of this is if you take the Islamic narrative, which is that he never died. He was taken to paradise by God. He was saved. Now, to explain further why this is a massive problem for Christianity, let me quote Jeremiah. "The days are coming, declares the Lord. I will raise up from David a righteous branch, a king who will reign wisely and do what is just and right in the land. In his days, Judah will be saved and Israel live in safety. This is the name by which he will be called the Lord, our righteous Savior." Read about this in Jeremiah 23, 5-6. So if you read this, it's talking about a king who will reign wisely. It's not talking about some preacher who will die at the hands of his enemies and will be crucified, humiliated by the hands of his enemies. It's not describing that person. It's describing someone who will be king. So clearly these passages contradict the crucifixion claim. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. Isaiah 9:7. So obviously this king, whoever he is supposed to rule or establish righteousness and justice from his time to forever, right? Obviously this is a false prophecy. This cannot be Jesus. And this is why many Jews actually reject Jesus. But obviously the Islamic point of view fixes this problem. Jesus never established any kingdom. He died. So this is a clear contradiction to the crucifixion narrative. The argument is, if Jesus died, he cannot be the Messiah. Jesus died according to Christianity. Therefore, according to Christianity, Jesus cannot be the Messiah. And this is actually a brilliant argument. This completely exposes and destroys the Christian claim of Jesus being the Messiah, right?
So the disciples believe that Jesus was raised from the dead, according to Bart Ehrman, right?
Yeah, so if you just got to keep reading and we can gain an
All right.
understanding.
Of course. So the disciples believe that Jesus was raised from the dead. Nice. As I have explained before, that in my view, Jesus did believe he was the Messiah. Given everything we know, the Jews believe.
Expose him!
What are you doing? Read it.
This is not like it's not. It's
Yeah,
irrelevant.
it's fine. I'll read it. Okay.
Did you notice what's happened there? So brother didn't respond. I think kind of caught wind of this, that he's trying to avoid this argument. So he just kind of tries to avoid it, refuses to read that portion. If Jesus is the Messiah, he cannot be crucified. If he was crucified, he cannot be the Messiah. And this is such a simple but such a destructive argument for Christianity, because this is their two core tenets. But these two core tenets are completely contradictory. So obviously, the only way to fix this is to take the Islamic approach. So either Jesus is the Messiah, but he cannot be crucified, or he is crucified, then he's not the Messiah. So this is the Christian dilemma, that GodLogic falls into, but he ignores this argument completely because he knows he cannot address this. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys like the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Inshallah, I'll see you guys next time.